So skipping is a wonderful form of exercise, and you may be thinking about doing it yourself, right? And one of the first things you need to think about is what kind of skipping rope you're going to get. And the intention of this video is just to introduce you to what I consider the three main types, and maybe give you a bit of food for thought on a prospective purchase. So the first kind of skipping rope that you can see virtually anywhere online and you can buy for really cheap, is just a really standard plastic one. You'll see it's got plastic handles, a plastic rope, and often you can just peek out the end there and you see that this one's rusted, but that's all that is stopping the rope slipping through the handle. They often sell for a couple of pounds or a couple of dollars. I mean, they're perfectly usable, but that's kind of your basic standard rope, and it's fine, and I'll demonstrate it in a minute. For just a tiny bit more money, you can kind of upgrade somewhat to this style rope. This one is called an H&S, and I bought this one on Amazon for I think $2.99 or $3.99. They have a very thin wire but plastic covered rope to them, and often they're adjustable, so the little clip there can be adjusted for your height. And one thing about these kind of ropes is there's a little ball bearing in there that spins around and the rope moves very, very quickly. Already you might be seeing some of the advantages to this kind of rope, and the big one is that it never gets snarled up, the mechanism working inside of the handle. And the final kind of rope that I'm going to talk about is what I would consider to be this type of rope, which is more of a ball bearing one. So it's kind of a hybrid of the two. So you can see that you still feed the rope through the actual handle, but there is a ball bearing system inside that spins around. That's not a great example, but trust me, it does. It spins around, and that propels the rope over your head and underneath your feet. Now, these ropes typically go for around £6 or £7 on Amazon, and for my money, you can't make a better investment for your fitness. Okay, this is my favourite skipping rope ever made. I haven't ever used a more expensive one than this. I've never felt any need to. And I'm going to demonstrate all three of these in the next section of the video. So this is by Gold's Gym. It's their standard rope that you can find on Amazon. It's got a little yellow handle. When you buy them, it has a little cap on the end, but I take those off. And they're height adjustable. They happen to work out for me fairly well. But if you want to adjust the height, using a pair of pliers, you can undo that piece of metal that's surrounding it, cut the rope to your desired length, and clip it back on. And I think it's a wonderful rope. I'll demonstrate all three of them now, and then maybe you can be a little bit more informed about any prospective purchase that you might be making in terms of a skipping rope. However, it's not perfect. There are some things that it doesn't do as well as the last rope that I showed you by H&S, but I will explain that at the end of the video. Here we go. So I'm just going to skip for a real short amount of time with the first one, the kind of cheapy one, and give you some of my thoughts. I want to remind you that is essentially the turning mechanism of it. Okay, so that might give you some indication already of the kind of quality of the action of this rope. So see, already a mistake straight away. Again. So every kind of skipping rope is going to have its own groove or its own cadence to it. And you can see that I made some mistakes right away using that one. Then after a while, a couple of stumbles, I got there. The issue is that doesn't turn around very nicely for me inside of the mechanism. It's very, very basic, but nothing really works very well. So what we'll try and do, we'll compare that to the next one, the one with the ball bearings on that's adjustable, and we'll see what we can get out of that one. So there's the ball bearing rope. There's the mechanism, and it can be adjustable. This is already adjusted to my height. And we can see how this one works. So already the action of that rope, I can't think of a better way to describe it, is a lot better for me. It feels a lot more natural, a lot more fluid. It spins around really nicely. There is a downside to it. The actual rope part itself is very thin, and therefore it's very, very light. And it doesn't have the kind of swing or the kind of groove that I'd actually like from a skipping rope. So there's rope number 2. So finally we've got rope number 3, the Gold's Gym one, my favourite one, with the ball bearings. You can see from the thickness, if I compare the two, there's a massive amount of difference, and that is gonna, the increased mass is gonna make it a lot more enjoyable to actually use. So if I have a go, so this rope is easily the best one. As I mentioned, it's adjustable. It's fairly crude, so you need to find a way of separating that link. I just use a pair of pliers. It's fairly easy to do. You can cut it to the desired length and you can work with it. For me, it works out well just out of the box. But for my money, which is generally around £7, this is by far the best skipping rope that you can buy. Other ones are available. I'm really interested in trying the cross rope ones that are expensive, but I've heard really good reviews. So if you're going to try either, for my money, go for the Gold's Gym one, or one that's equivalent to that. The downside to this one, a huge downside that I think is worth mentioning, and this could say something about my skipping technique, but eventually they do become frayed there. There's only a small kind of plastic covering, and after maybe, I don't know, 30 minutes of use, it starts to fray, and the wire starts to poke out, and that can become sharp. I've hurt myself with it unintentionally a few times. The same thing does happen with this. I mean, you can see that it's slightly worn, but it takes hours and hours and hours of use to get this down to anything thin. And I've been using variants of this rope, like I buy these all the time, and I've never bust one. They've never broken. I've left them out in the rain, I've given them away to people, and although they may need WD-40 on there from time to time, and that bit does get thin occasionally through overuse, it's still the best rope that you can get. Again, downsides to this rope is if you are looking to do double unders, the other one's way easier, okay, because it's lighter. For me, if you were trying to get a member of the 100 club, which means doing 100 double unders, you're a ferocious monster if you can do it with this rope, because it's heavy. I can maybe get around 50 or 60, and I'm working up to 100, but with the thinner rope, it's actually fairly easy for me because my technique's okay. I guess the summary is, any skipping rope's a good one. Doing some skipping is better than nothing, and I think it's a fantastic investment to make for your overall general well-being, especially your cardio health. The other effect that it will have is if you do it for a long time, it has a really good way of developing your lower body, muscles that you don't normally use, especially your calves and your shin muscles. I don't know what the term is for them, but they become overly developed. So there you go. I hope you found this video useful, and if you have any questions at all, I would love to get the discussion going. I'm going to try and make some more skipping videos in the future, so please join in. It's really good fun. Take care, and I'll see you soon.